Today on GardenFork, a really easy birdhouse. Stay tuned.
You want to hold on?
Yes.
All right, hold on.
I'm holding on.
Okay, so here we are down in the workshop, and we have our plans. This is, by the way, from the North Dakota Fish and Game Department. It's a really neat PDF you can download, and we have the plans for a bluebird house here. Really simple, and the pups might help. We'll see. You want to go to the lumberyard and get what's called a 1x6, which means a piece of common pine, which is nominally 1 inch wide by 6 inches width. But in the modern day world, when you say a 1x6, what the piece of wood really is it's 3/4 by 5.5. But when you go to the store, you say, I need a 1x6, and they'll know what you want. Oh, you can also just use scrap lumber too. I mean, if there's a house nearby that's being built, or if there's a renovation going on, you know, they're just throwing out a bunch of short ends. You could take a bunch of short ends of lumber and make birdhouses as well. So, and that's, you know, super green too. So here we go. If all else fails, read directions here. Really simple. We're just going to mark off a bunch of lengths here. This is my grandfather-in-law's birdhouse. He took some coffee cans.
Did he have plans for that?
And, you know, just leaves the back like that. And he just cut a piece of plywood, the diameter of the top of the can, put a little perch on there.
It worked.
And it's a little wren house. It's really quite nice. So we have our lines laid out on our wood now. You can use the simplest of tools to make these houses. I'm going to use my fancy compound miter saw, or you can use like a table saw, or you can just use a saw that you have laying around the house. I mean,
Is that a jigsaw?
This is a miter box saw, but you could use this, or a regular crosscut saw. You know, what I'm trying to say is you don't need a lot of fancy tools to make this, and you can make it with your kids, and I think they'd like it. So, okay, now time to saw. Remember, always have ear and eye protection. You can take this from your Star Trek uniform.
Good girl.
So in the front of the birdhouse, we have to make a hole for the birds, and they found through studies that a elongated hole works best. So we're going to use a simple saw called a coping saw to cut this in the front. You could also just use a flat-bladed drill, like a wood drill. What's it called? These guys here. These kind. 1 1/8 is a good size for bluebirds, chickadees, and things like that. But I'm going to make the elongated hole. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so take your drill, and you want a drill bit that is larger than your coping saw blade. And just start right here. Now the beauty of a coping saw is you can disconnect it. So you take this, loosen this up, and that pops off like that, and then you feed the blade through this hole here, and you put it back on, and here you go. Then you start sawing. Okay, now when I get to here, the bottom of my saw is going to hit the wood. So here's what we do. So these little tangs here, you've loosened this knob here, and then you push this down. So you've turned the blade 45 degrees, and we could keep sawing. And there you go.
Wow.
Looks good.
Would you like someone to solve your problem? Here comes Santa. Here comes Santa. Crisis averted.
So we're going to put some vent holes in the floor of the birdhouse here. It's very simple. And on one of the two side pieces, I made one slightly smaller than the other, and I'll show you why I did that in a little bit here when we put it together. I just sanded out our little hole here. I mean, this isn't perfect, but that's GardenFork. And the birds
It looks like a keyhole.
The birds aren't going to know the difference, you know. There's one more thing to do before we assemble this. And when a bird is in a dead tree, the cavity that they're in the walls are nice and rough, so the young birds, when it's time to leave the nest, they can just climb up. I'm a little bird climbing up. They can climb up the inside of the tree and go out the hole. But this is super smooth, and birds can't climb up a super smooth surface here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little climbing wall here so they can leave, and it's really simply done with just some hardware cloth. So just trim the ends off, and then this sits on the inside of the birdhouse. So now you have a little way. I mean, ornithologists might think I'm nuts, but this is just how I think the world should be run. So the birds can now climb out because the smoothness, the smooth wood is very difficult to get out. All right, now it comes time to assemble. You can assemble this with just nails. You can use nails and glue, or you can just use screws. I've got two sides here. One of them I made slightly smaller, okay, so we're going to pay attention to that. We're going to take the taller one. On the second wall that has the short side, we're not going to screw the bottom of it in, because this side wall is also going to be an access panel to get into the birdhouse. Now we put our front on. So now we're going to work on the short side, and again, we're just going to put one screw. See how this is the shorter side and it pulls out like that?
Yeah. That's
so you can clean it out in the late winter, early spring. It's because we have one side here that is really tight. Opens up like this. We want to have a little, just a very simple holder here to keep that from flying open in the later years. So we're going to drill a hole here. So get yourself a finished nail like this, and we're going to bend the head over like this. So this is a very simple lock just to keep this from pulling open. All right, so here is your stunning, simple Bauhaus birdhouse. It's not, incredibly beautiful. We don't have finely machined corners here or anything, but this is a really simple project that you can do with your family or just do by yourself. You can paint these with just linseed oil, or you could paint them with outdoor paint. You can paint them orange, I think. A lot of people paint them white, so when they're out in a field, they don't heat up as much. So there you go. I mean, this is really simple. Again, I like simple things. I'm not the master carpenter craftsman, but if I can build this, you can build it. Your kids can build it. There you go.